what's going on? I'm Colin Zula, aka TheChefDoc, and welcome to another video of mine. Today we're going to be cooking today. You ready? Let's get to it. So for today's recipe, we're going to be roasting fall winter vegetables. Now over the past holidays, a lot of people have been asking me, Colin, what's the best way to incorporate more vegetables into different recipes that I have? Most of my family are meat eaters. Well, one of the great ways is incorporating a lot of root vegetables and roasting them. Very simple, very easy to do, and something that you can do and bring back to your family. You ready? So the vegetables I have today is sweet potatoes. I have organic gold beets. I have Brussel sprouts. I have these beautiful, colorful mixed baby small potatoes. And then we have our regular good old red beets here. You can actually use any type of root or starchy vegetables. You could have used butternut squash or acorn squash. It's really up to your preference. However, I like to use these, and you can just mix and match. So we're gonna start preheating the oven to 425. After you wash them enough, we can start by peeling them and cutting them up. So we're gonna start with beets. And beets are one of my favorite vegetables to use. Back in the day, Europe, Asia, they tend to actually eat more of the beet greens as opposed to the actual root of the beets. When they later found out that it has a very sweet property to it, they decided to incorporate more into their cuisines. However, you got to be very careful because beets are very high in sugar. So be mindful of patients that have, or people, or anyone that you know that have diabetes or problems with their metabolism. So I'm just going to be cutting off the greens right here and setting them aside. Another added feature about beets is they're very good with lowering inflammation, increasing your stamina, and lowering blood pressure. And how does it do that? Well, they naturally have something called nitrates in the actual vegetable itself, and our body converts it to nitric oxide. And what that basically does is a fancy way of saying it basically opens up the blood vessels and thus lowering blood pressure. It also, obviously, like we said, has a very high sugar content, and it also has a lot of phytonutrients, and basically that's where the color comes from. And it also boosts a lot of anti-cancer properties. So we're just going to be cutting these guys up. And also be mindful that you can actually keep these greens and saute it with spinach or Swiss chard, however you would like to incorporate into your vegetables. It's a great way of adding these things. So basically we're going to cut these guys up into a little bit larger than bite size. Easy way to do these things is to stack things up. So what I love about these potatoes is they're bite size, they're easy to cut, and they're easy to use. Potatoes are great, and obviously we consume them the most through potato chips and French fries, one of the most popular potatoes that we actually use. However, there's a lot of fiber in potatoes that we tend to miss out by removing them. There's a lot of fiber in the skin. Potatoes also have a very rich source in potassium and B6. Vitamin B6 is actually great for our nervous system and helps regulate it and keeps it in check. Potassium is really great for our cell health in general and keeps our cells basically moving all the time. So next up we have Brussels sprouts, and they're part of the Brassica family, which are similar in the same family as the cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli and cauliflower. And what I love about Brussels sprouts, one of the best ways to do this is actually to roast them, and it brings out a great sweet smell and aroma to it, and it will soak up any herbs and spices that you include in the cooking process. It's very high in vitamin C and vitamin A, therefore it has a very high antioxidant and anti-inflammation properties. We're gonna start heating a pot of water to be able to cook down these guys a little bit, halfway, almost cooked, before we roast them in the oven. So basically next, while the water is boiling, is we can take a baking sheet, half sheet pan like this, and you can use anything you would like. Aluminum foil, I like to use parchment paper, and then what we're gonna do is lightly grease the pan. I would basically use, here I'm using extra light olive oil. You can also use canola oil. However, you gotta be careful that most of canola oil is GMO, genetically modified. So I like to use the extra light olive oil instead of the extra virgin, because most of the time extra virgin is also mainly used for light cooking, salads, things like that. So once the pot actually has a boil going, we're gonna start putting these guys into it, okay? And then after a while, you're gonna wait until it boils back up. I'd probably say cook for another 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and just to check on how cooked down the vegetables are. We don't want it to get too mushy or broken down. So after a while, it's gonna be a little bit red, and don't freak out, that's not blood. That's pretty much the color from the beets itself. Every now and then you wanna stir the pot around and make sure that the vegetables are not overcooked. Please pay attention that I did not actually put the Brussels sprouts into it, because that actually goes into the oven, okay? Because these guys will overcook real fast if you boil them down. Isn't the color beautiful? Another thing with presentation is that when you make certain dishes more colorful or there's more variety, people will be a lot more attracted to it and more appetizing to the eye. Not only do we want our food to taste good, we also want it to be visually appealing as well. Just kind of layer it like that. Of rosemary, thyme, just basically anything that you would, just think of Thanksgiving dinner, how you would cook poultry. These are great aromatic herbs, and they add a lot of depth and flavor to your actual vegetables. Next step is to be able to add salt and pepper to it. Just season it up, a couple of pinches of the salt and a dash of the pepper. I would just like to throw the entire leaves into this as well. All right, so in it goes. We're gonna be cooking this at 425 and basically cook 10 to 15 minutes and making sure that it's not overcooked or undercooked at the same time. And we're just gonna keep periodically checking it, okay? So, there you have it. It actually turned out to be a little bit more than 20 minutes, so I encourage you to kind of gauge how much cooking time there is, but I would say roughly 20 minutes after you put it into the oven. Just check on everything that make sure you stir it around, make sure it has a nice good sizzle. And I mean, look at this, it's gorgeous. Very rustic look, and it smells amazing. You could see the thyme, the rosemary, the sage, and it's okay if you have a little bit of burnt edges around the Brussels sprouts. And remember that the Brussels sprouts come afterwards, so it doesn't overcook here. So, but it's pretty much let it sit and you can serve it afterwards. All right, guys, so this wraps up this video. Thank you for watching. And again, this is my Rustic Harvest Fall Winter Vegetables. Great as a main dish, a side dish, and it's good for you. A lot of great nutrients and vitamins and include a lot of fiber. So don't be afraid to dabble and try something new. So, all right, and I'll see you next time. Happy feasting.